How would you solve this equation? For most of us, it's as simple as following a series of familiar steps to get us to that answer. Now, remember this. This is how students under Common Core were taught to solve the exact same question. First adopted in 2009, Common Core was an ambitious initiative to revolutionize the American education system. 41 states, the District of Columbia, and 4 territories signed up to participate. National leaders from Bill Gates to President Obama supported the idea of the common curriculum, and it cost an estimated $15.8 billion to implement.
They thought standards were just too low in the US and that we could have kids learn more in school if we raise standards. Quite frankly, they didn't really trust the schools to do this on their own.
One of the most challenging aspects was we understood our curriculum and we were basically thrown a curveball into what it was and had to really adopt new practices.
But a couple of years after its launch, it was met with confusion and ridicule.
Some of the math items that were mocked, I think deserved to be mocked, frankly. They were just very poor items.
People deserve to know the truth, but it wasn't the truth. I was 15 in 1977, and I'll be 30 next week.
I don't think that math checks out.
I don't get math. I went to school in the 2000s, and we were taught Common Core.
All of a sudden, parents were having to help their kids with math homework that they couldn't quite grasp because they hadn't been taught math that way.
So, how can the U.S. fix our lagging school system? Can a common curriculum work? The Common Core is a set of standards specifically designed to better prepare American students for success in college and their workplace. These standards determine what a student should know and be able to do in language arts and math from kindergarten through senior year of high school.
When you should know algebra, should it be 8th grade, should it be 9th grade, should you be capable of doing algebra 1 or algebra 2? You know, when would it be appropriate to move into calculus, things of that nature?
It's important to have a standard because you have to have a clear vision or goal of where you are going and what it is that you expect for your students. I think that if you go in without any expectations for your students, they themselves are going to be unclear, right? What it is that they are showing up to school every single day to achieve.
Besides setting these benchmarks, Common Core also brought changes to how students were taught.
There definitely was a shift, especially in just your thought and thinking about how you approach lesson plans and how you are going to make sure that you are disseminating the information in a way to your students that they can receive it.
Do you know the Pythagorean theorem, right? Like, okay, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You can probably ask any adult and they can shoot that back to you. It was more about if you have that knowledge, if you understand what it is, where do you use that? How do you apply it?
On the language arts side, there was much more of a focus on moving a little bit away from fiction to much more focus on the critical thinking using real life documents like studying Hamilton papers or something like that to really understand what was going on at that time of the revolution.
There were 2 main reasons why the initiative received so much support in its early years. The first was fear that America was lagging behind other countries in academic performance. In 2009, the U.S. showed middling performance in reading and science and scored below average in mathematics, compared to the average score among OECD countries.
The idea was we're going to hold schools responsible for teaching to a higher level and then test kids to see whether or not they've attained that higher level.
The second reason was that the Common Core allowed different states to accurately compare their academic performances by having a uniform standard for education.
And while one state might now say, we're doing a great job of achieving our standards, but these standards are very low, and another state is saying, we're not doing as well as we'd like to be doing in achieving our standards, but they're very high. This makes for a confusing conversation.
With these intentions in mind, 2 nonprofit groups, the Council of Chief State School Officers and the National Governors Association, developed the standards. Achieve, a nonprofit education reform group, as well as various teachers' unions, including the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers, joined in to help the process.
So when they got together in 2009, what they did first is they had a memorandum of understanding that they had states sign on to. And it basically said, okay, we're going to go write these standards. You don't have to accept them now, but can you at least say you'll be interested in looking at them and might accept them down the road if you find them to meet your needs? And over 45 states signed on to that memorandum of understanding.
We made sure.
Great morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Hey, Sheka. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are staying warm.
Definitely. It is completely cold, and I don't know if we're going to cancel going out for Christmas. You know, we're not used to the cold in the South. But welcome to the R.E.A.L. Academy. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston, and my trust mate here, Dr. Tammy Taylor, and I are pleased that you are with us on this cold Christmas Eve today. And we're bringing you a topic, as you saw from the video. It started off talking about the Common Core, but we're talking specifically about how it impacted math. But Tammy and I started the R.E.A.L. Academy after we improved our schools 2 and 3 report card grade levels using our R.E.A.L. strategy. And it's just the acronym that stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy and numeracy, and leadership. And by implementing the strategies and the things that we put under each of those categories with our dynamic staffs is what helped us improve. So we are the co-founders of Create and Educate. We are cultivators of resilience. So we help people build resilience in schools, leaders, women, and children. And so between the two of us, we have 40 years of experience between us in leadership, teaching. We serve on multiple boards in our community, and education and helping improve education and the outcomes for children that's something that we're very passionate about. So that's why we're here every Saturday. We're a part of the Fantastic Four, and we appreciate each and every one of you that have tuned in and tune in with us every Saturday. So thank you for being here. So again, just some highlights from that video when we are getting into talking about how we're going to improve math and give you all some strategies for improving math. What the video was talking about was how basically that from their perspective, Common Core has broken U.S. schools, and we are not, saying we're for or against certain things because it's really politicized now, as it talked about in the video. But we do know that like she stated in the video, standards are needed. You do need a clear vision of what students need to learn. They need to know what their expectations are, and it tells you where you're going as a teacher, as an educator. One of the things it referenced in the video too was that the reason that the Common Core was developed had to do with our lagging behind in those PISA scores, which is basically that international assessment that compares us to other countries and our performance. And in reading, we were ranked 13th in 2018, and in math, 37th. But one of the problems, I think, and Tammy and I were talking about this, so she's also going to chime in before we got on, and earlier this week, when you look at how other countries view educators, it is very different from the view of educators in our country. And so we found, I'm going to put this up, one of our PowerPoint slides, and you hear this a lot in the States, those who can't do teach, which is, completely not true. And the first problem with an outside entity, and these are non-educators leading the charge of developing standards, I think is one of the ways that we went wrong. When you've only invited educators to the table to help, then herein lies the problem. It should have been educators who were leading this initiative. So the one thing that I have taken from this and even changed this quote to those who can't teach, try to control education, please stop. You have failed at this. And it went on to say in the video how they've done some more assessments and research about the impact of Common Core. And it took 10 years to do this research. And there was very little negative impact, also tiny positive impact, and some neutral effects that were realized. But did it have a major impact on student achievement? No. Were the standards raised? Depends on who you ask. Yes. Um, did we raise expectations on student assessments? Yes. But the major outcome of raising student achievement, that has not happened. Tammy, did you have some reflections on the video?
Other than to say it's worth taking a look at, like we didn't show the entire video, but there are different aspects of things that are featured in that video that talk about other things that are impactful and have caused some of this fallout that she was talking about. When you see a p-value that is greater than 0.05, then you're talking about when we start looking to see what is the effect, and
Mhm.
they're not able to say that it had any grand effect on what we're doing, or the impact that the kids received from it made them better. So I'm just going to say, if you get time, I think it's worth looking at more of the video, because I think that the more important aspect of what we aren't going to get at today, but that needs to be really looked into and discussed, is this myth that poor children are not able to learn at the same levels as their counterparts. So
Mhm.
we're up against a system that was designed from the beginning for some children not to be successful. And so you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle, because I saw when in the video they were talking about how important it is for us to take a look at, and I believe in standards. So I just want to be clear about that. We
Mhm.
are not people who promote the use of just getting into the classroom and doing whatever you want to do. I think
Mhm.
that standards are important, and I think that they are the roadmap to ensuring that teachers are teaching what kids need to know. But what I want to just drop a footnote on is this. He was talking about using primary source documents. And what we are going to have to, at some point, get to the bottom of is, who are they the primary source for? We are
Mm.
talking about documents, but we really aren't talking about documents, because we're still shutting out different aspects of the history of America that we're not even paying attention to. So we're creating standards that suit are designed to support that system that was established from the beginning, and it is doomed, as Shika said before, to fail if we do not get some interventions in place that allow for everybody to have a seat at that table.
Definitely, Tammy, and they did address too in the video, and we've talked about it too, how the needs of students in poverty are usually not addressed. And so when you take the control away from educators and people who actually are working with children and who are on the ground floor and know, like Jasmine is saying, that these documents Okay, so looks like we're still live, I think. I still see the live button. Can you hear me, Tammy?
I can hear you. And I don't know, we were without power all day yesterday. So it could be me. I don't know if it's that our
No, it said on my end that the
oh,
internet dropped, but with the winter storm and the wind blowing so hard that it's knocking people's power out,
yeah,
I'm
sorry guys, but it
sure
is
that had
what it
something on.
is. And maybe the wind is preventing us from getting this message out. What we want to say is for real. What
Right.
we're saying is significant to you as leaders, because what we want to make sure we're doing. And I saw this, somebody sent it to me actually this week, where Principal Kafele, I think, had won some kind of award or something, or was recognized
Mhm.
for bringing culturally relevant instruction into his classroom. And I think that the board has supported him in doing what he needed to do. So, what we're saying is just simple as this. We do believe that standards are important, but what we also believe is that we have to ensure that we are presenting relevancy to our students, so that when we are teaching them, they are engaged in what we're trying to get them to learn. And sometimes the reason that they disconnect is because they can't connect
Mhm.
to what it is we're trying to tell them. And I heard him when he was talking about presenting the Hamilton documents. And that's
Mhm.
interesting. I like reading primary sources and I love history. So I
Mhm.
don't have a problem with that. But for today's teenager, you might not find many kids who even know who Hamilton was.
Mhm.
So what you have to do is you have to put that into perspective, so
Mhm.
that there is a relevancy to what it is we're trying to make sure our students are being exposed to.
Exactly. And this has impacted math more so than it has reading. And this is just that international assessment that we referred to, showing where we're 37th, of course, compared to other countries in math, we're ranked. And you do have to take in consideration that, some countries dictate who receives an education and who does not. And, all of those things factor in. And then we pulled up some information with the NAEP testing, showing that this has been the largest score decline in mathematics in grades fourth and eighth since the assessment was originally given in 1990. So we definitely know that, there's usually has been a lag in math. Some people say it's because we have focused more on reading, and some of it is also mindset. You hear a lot of times people will say things, even in parent conferences. I've heard parents say, "Well, I'm not good in math, so." It's not really an expectation for a child to be good in math sometimes. So we have to change our thinking, our mindsets around math, and make sure that children and parents know that math concepts are just as important as reading concepts. Now, we know that reading impacts every area, but you also have to understand math concepts to be successful in life and college and career ready as well. So we know we're not going to get through all nine since we've gotten knocked off. And thank you all for sticking with us and letting us know we were back on. But we're going to try to get to some of these strategies that could help you, anybody, help their children improve in math. So the first thing is wrapping your head around the concepts. Um, and that just is like we talk about all the time in education, understanding why you are doing something. So when I was trying to help my daughter understand just number sense, learning how to count, I did show her, like, if you really ultimately, if you know how to count from 1 to 10, you can know how to count to just about anything. So when she got that concept of where the numbers just repeat themselves and then you just put in the next number in front of it, then it was like the light bulb went off. Oh, okay, now I got it. So, understanding the concept and breaking it down for children is essential for them to understand math.
I think it's really important too, as we are breaking down those concepts, to understand that there are different ways to make sure that kids are exposed to those concepts that they have to learn. And games are one way that can happen. Now, you can use traditional games, or some classrooms have gone to games like Prodigy, and kids really love it because it's
Mhm.
kind of video game based. But I'm going to be honest with you, nothing beats making sure that you can have a competition with just kids knowing and being able to compete against one another with facts. Um,
Mhm.
whether they're addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, that those kinds of games help that to be internalized, and the kids are able to process it so that they
Mhm.
hold on to the learning. Because what we're seeing, and this could be part of the reason that we're seeing this decline in these math scores, when kids don't actually learn the material, they learn it for the quiz, or
Mhm.
they remember it enough to pass the ones times tables. What's
Mhm.
different about that is, when we were learning, you were taught what your
Mhm.
facts were. So it's easy for, we're going to remember that 6 times 6 is 36 because I learned that.
Mhm.
Now, when you're teaching the kids, well, I mean, you really don't have to know that, but just know how to get there. So if you get 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 it's the same thing. So it takes them a little while to get there. We just
Mhm.
have to be willing to make sure that we have and are exposing them to games that are relevant to help them to actually learn the materials.
And we only have 1 minute left. So, one of our partners, EduMonitor, the next way is to just basically implement daily practice. And one thing that I've done with my daughter, and Tammy's going to institute some more practice at her school, is just they have books for multiple grade levels.
Through
Pre-K,
eighth grade.
kindergarten. It's pre-K through 8th grade that they have practice for. And I like the workbooks because a lot of people have taken the online platform and just have started to use it as a babysitting thing where they're just pushing out worksheets to children. And even some of the children that I work with at the high schools have said, wow, I just hate doing things on the computer now because it's just utilized sometimes for the wrong thing and for the wrong reasons. So they have wanted to do more things paper pencil. And I do think that that paper pencil is really needed in math. So if you are in need of these materials as a parent for at home or for your students at school, they work great in the classroom. They also work great for at home practice or after school programs. My daughter has had success with them, and we plan to also implement them in some other places. But it is 10:55, so we're sorry we didn't get through everything. We'll continue next Saturday, and we hope that you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New
Happy
Year.
holidays. And guys, before we log off, we do want to say this, because we want to make sure that you understand that when we talk about the use of that daily practice, we are talking about that in conjunction with some of the things that Arcella and Melissa and Jasmine were talking about. We know that there have to be models in math,
Mhm.
and representation is important so that you can have those concrete models to work with, as well as manipulatives. But these are daily practice opportunities for parents or for teachers. And as Sheka said, we hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas.
And we're going to address Sharad's question next week. he wanted to know if college and career ready is a relevant thing. I think it is. So we will go into more detail about that next week. So thank you all and have a very Merry Christmas.
All right,
Join
guys.
us next on
With
Principal
Principal
Kafele's platform. He has a phenomenal guest, Dr. Tommy Mabry. So join us over there next. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.